Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm an artist based in San Antonio, so not too far away from Houston. I'm a professor at the UTSA, specializing in drawing and painting. And this exhibition is, I've been working on it for a couple of years. It was a conscious decision to tackle a problem that's happening particularly in the United States, but is happening worldwide, and that is the propagation of misinformation. And so I became very fascinated with the idea that, or thinking about why people would believe something that is obviously false. And so I did a lot of reading about how identity is generated and how consciousness is generated to kind of get a sense of like a grounding in the work. And so that's why I have brought the stack of books that just sit over there in the corner so that you can kind of see the reading list that I've been working my way through. Also, the video in the beginning of the exhibition doesn't function as much as art as it does an information provider to show you the kind of main metaphor that I'm using in the work, and that is the cordyceps fungus and how it is taken in by insects, takes over the minds of insects, and the insects do what the fungus wants. And that seems to me to be an apt metaphor for how misinformation is moving around in the world. And so there are three pieces in the show that are memes, internet memes, that I have printed onto MDO panels and then cut shapes out of those panels to create objects. So all of those, two of the memes, these two here, are falsely attributed quotes to founding fathers. And the one back there is not it's not a quote, but I find that the sentiment in that to be a little problematic. And so, and then the four memes that are in this cluster here are also from the internet. And those particular memes, I find they're pretty insidious ideas. And I have painted them using the fungus, using cordyceps. So that's why it has a strange kind of brown, shiny quality. So it's made out of the substance that takes over the brains of insects. You can see also repeated in the exhibition are these molecules. There's one back there, and these 4 ant drawings. These molecules are neurotransmitters. That particular one is cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And then these three are fear hormones or neurotransmitters. So we have norepinephrine, cortisol, and adrenaline, and then over there is dopamine. And in these these 4 ant drawings, the ant has been taken over by the cordyceps fungus. And when the cordyceps fungus matures, it sends a stalk out of the body of the animal, of the ant, and it creates a fruiting body, which then releases spores out into the world and infects more insects. So I have taken that fruiting body and replaced it with the molecules of the fear hormones or the fear neurotransmitters in our bodies. What else can I say? The sculpture here, this video sculpture, is I went to TikTok and I just harvested a collection of TikTok trends. So there's about 20 videos of each of the trends. And for those of you who aren't on TikTok, by the way, I'm not on TikTok, but I just want to make that perfectly clear. It is not on my phone, but I do understand TikTok. So on TikTok, there are certain trends that people will do, and so usually it's based on some sort of soundtrack, and so they'll do a lip sync, or they'll do a reaction or something, or there's a filter and they try out the filter, and they do it in front of the camera so that other people can see them doing the trend. So it's very strange, particularly when you remove the sound and you always see these people doing these repeated motions again and again. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how our, let me start over. So that's what you're seeing there. On the other side of the projected TikTok videos, there's a mirror. And the mirror is held up with a half of a hemisphere of the brain. And of course, the mirror completes the other half of the brain. So you get a whole brain. But half of that brain is generated through mirroring, through mimesis. And so that is kind of what TikTok does. TikTok is a really interesting illustration of how our brain works and how culture works. Humans learn and generate culture through repetition, through repeating, through mimicry. We all do it. We're very good at it. Our species is very good at that. And so the piece really is about kind of reinforcing or talking about that idea. Also, it relates to some reading I've been doing about memetics. And this is really interesting science, newish science, that was started by Richard Dawkins in his book, The Selfish Gene. And at the last chapter of that book, he talks about, he posits that there's probably a unit of culture that functions like the genes in our bodies do. And he calls that a meme. So that's where the term meme comes from. It comes from a book written in 1978. So memes predate the internet. So a meme is a little bit of information that gets passed from brain to brain. And there's this interesting theory that our brains are so big because of memes. Memes have fashioned us in a way that allows for more memes to be carried and transferred. And the argument goes that humans have brains and heads that are so large that it makes childbirth dangerous. If you think about other animals, they tend to not have a problem giving birth, right? They just kind of squat, it plops out, and then they move on, right? Where humans, it's much harder for women to give birth because our heads are so big. And so it's dangerous. And so evolutionarily, it doesn't make sense that we would have evolved to have these giant heads that make it dangerous for childbirth. And the theory goes that memes have worked on us in such a way that it pushed us beyond that kind of natural way evolution would work to make our brains so big that it would become dangerous. Anyways, it's kind of complicated, but I think it's fascinating. And even if it's not true, I think it is true that we are walking, talking meme delivery systems. I mean, all of us carry these complex ideas that we have inherited from other minds, and we pass them on to our kids, or to the people we know. I mean, it's called culture, right? That's what culture is. Culture is just a huge set of memes, and we all act out those ideas in culture. So, for instance, like we wear pants. Most of us wear pants in this culture, and I look around. Most of us are wearing pants. That's a meme actually. We could all be wearing like robes. And in certain cultures, most people wear robes. That's the meme that has caught on with those people. So that's kind of how it works. Anyways, so the idea of the meme is that idea is rooted in this piece, but it's also rooted in all the other pieces that are memes. Some other ideas that I'm interested in are ideas of identity, and so that's why I use flags. So the piece back here obviously is made from 6 American flags. I cut the pieces I needed to fashion the cortisol molecule out of the flags. And so the molecule is made entirely from the flags. I noticed that the shape used to make this a sphere is an eye shape. And so as I was cutting, I paired all of the pieces, so there's sets of eyes essentially throughout the flags, which of course implicates our bodies in those flags. And then these flags here are very common flags that we see in Texas for sure. And they have been kind of taken by a certain kind of ideology and to mean something that's different than what their original meanings are. And I did something very simple with them is I just painted out a lot of the text, leaving only the word me on both of them. Because it occurred to me, and this is not just people who espouse this particular ideology, it's all of us, is that most of our ideologies that we're fighting for, we're really fighting for a sense of ourselves because we define ourselves by our ideologies. You know, it's part of our who we are. It's what we're made out of. And so I just wanted to underscore that these things were about not defending, ultimately not defending a way of thinking, but defending a personal sense of self. And that's really what they're about. What else could I say? The two pieces in the front, both of them are made, the objects I made out of the memes are body parts. And the body parts I chose are foundational body parts. The rib cage is a very foundational part of our bodies, a very important part. And the titles on both of these are Faulty Foundations. And so the idea, very simply, is if you build a foundation out of something that's faulty, at some point it's going to collapse, it's going to break down. So these are very fragile structures presented for you. Both of them have references to weapons and guns, which a lot of these false founding father memes reference. And this particular one was, as I was kind of conceiving of it, all these interesting associations started happening. When I found the quote about liberty, about firearms being American liberty's teeth, I thought that was like perfect for this, for the idea that I wanted to make this mandible. But it's of course been attributed to George Washington, and we have that mythology that surrounds George Washington about his teeth being made of wood. We've all been taught that. But of course he didn't have wooden teeth. He had teeth made from enslaved people's teeth. That's what they were really made of. And so this jaw, made out of this false idea floating in front of his face kind of, I think, underscores that notion of these myths that we tell ourselves. And I think the meme back there is another kind of reference to that, with these shackles being made out of this notion that America is great because of Christianity, capitalism, and the Constitution, which of course gives no room for an acknowledgement for the fact that this country is successful and wealthy because of enslavement of individuals. And so the shackles kind of obviously allude to that, but it also alludes to just the notion that that's a very narrow idea about what makes this country great. And if we hold on to that, then we are ourselves kind of shackled to an ideology that's problematic. So hopefully that gives you all enough kind of information to take in the work that's before you. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah.
How did you create the paint from fungus?
The fungus has been dried and powdered, and then it dissolves in water. So it's pretty easy. Yeah. It functions kind of like watercolor in that it stays open. So if I put water on it, I can erase everything back away. But it's also sticky, so it's kind of tricky to paint with. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a background in chemistry or medicine or
anatomy? No. I have an interest in science. Yeah, I'm 100% artist. That's all I've been trained in doing. Yeah.
So how much time did you spend designing and researching this?
Oh, that's a good question. I started in earnest 2 years ago, like really jumping into this. I mean, my work is organically moving, through subjects, and so I had started. I had a residency in Berlin in 2014-15, And so I kind of started thinking about these things then. It was kind of at the time that Trump was elected. Anyways, Trump was elected. I didn't want to say he was elected, but I guess he was elected. I mean, he didn't win the popular vote. But anyways, he was elected, and so I started, it was at that moment that I thought I need to kind of pivot a little bit and really think about that. And then a lot of these pieces are really labor intensive, so it took a long time just to figure out how to make them. Yeah, I mean, I spent months working on them. The jaw piece actually probably took the longest time, which is crazy. But it just took me a long time to figure out how to make the jaw out of these flat planes without totally destroying the flat planes. Well, that piece was really fast because chains are easy to think about, you know. So just a lot of technical stuff, but it's just usually through the reading process and learning this information, certain ideas will kind of just pop forward. Like this piece, like this notion of this, this piece almost came fully formed into my head, just popped in the head. And then it took a while to figure out how to do it. But in some other ones, I really had to work and work and work and work to get them to happen.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you select what media you're going to use and what material you're going to use?
Yeah. You may have noticed that this looks like a really tightly curated group exhibition. And that's how I work. And I work that way because I always start with a concept, like what is it, what's the subject, what am I trying to say? And then that kind of tells me what the medium should be. So I don't take a medium and then I don't take an idea and apply it to the medium that I like. Like there's certain ways that I really love. I love sewing. Sewing's fun, but I hardly ever sew and work because it's usually not appropriate. So I just follow what the ideas take me, and it usually takes me to really tedious, horrible ways of working. Like I can tell you, drawing with that cordyceps wasn't fun at all. It was really frustrating, but yeah. So it's the idea tells me where to go, and then if there's a process I need to learn, then I learn how to do the process so I can do the work. Sometimes I hire out, but usually I don't. I only hire out if it's really big. That requires specialty equipment, but usually I will just learn how to do the process myself and then do it. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. Any other questions?
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.